My key core constituency, movie stars.
I pledge
to be a servant to our president.
Oh, yes. Celebrities are eager to support their candidate. It's as if...
For centuries, the people had nowhere to turn, no one to look to for help, until he arrived.
It is mind-boggling to me, the things that come out of people's mouths.
Don't frack my mother.
Don't frack me! Don't frack me!
Some celebrities say socialism will fix everything.
Socialist egalitarian system.
And more laws will stop gun violence like that in
Newtown, Tucson,
Aurora. But what do those same celebrities do for money? Aren't they hypocrites? I wish someone would confront them. Tonight, we'll try.
Mr. Redford, isn't it deplorable that you're glamorizing the weather underground, a bunch of domestic terrorists?
I'm speaking for the entire world.
Vote for President Obama.
You can't buy anything more effective.
What makes these people experts?
I'm not a doctor, but I play one on TV.
That's our show tonight.
And now, John Stossel.
Hollywood has undergone mission creep. Actors don't just want to entertain us. Many now want to fix the world. And if an actor can use his fame to help the world, why not? The world needs fixing. Box office is nice, but the world office is more important. So actors do so-called public service commercials. After Yasser Arafat died, Richard Gere did this Get Out the Vote video for an advocacy group which ran it in Gaza and the West Bank, or Palestine, as leftists call it.
Hi, I'm Richard Gere, and I'm speaking for the entire world.
He speaks for the entire world? Seems pretty arrogant. He's an actor, a popular one, yes, but what gives an actor the right to speak for the entire world? Maybe because they're often portrayed as godlike?
For centuries, the people had nowhere to turn, no one to look to for help, until he arrived. As long as there were people crying for help, there was one man who would never rest. Hercules.
He's here in our studio. Actually, it's actor Kevin Sorbo, who played Hercules as well as other roles, and he's the unusual actor who pushes back against those in Hollywood who say, we actors know how to fix the world. You have a problem with Gere saying, I speak for the entire world?
Well, I don't think he speaks for 7 billion people. I think he speaks for his own cause. And I think that happens quite a bit when people come out and talk. You know, you look at the actors that come out and went crazy over Bush with the war in Iraq and the WMDs that were supposed to be there but not there, and the uproar was huge, and they had commercials and everything like that, but you don't see any of them speaking out about Benghazi, for instance. I mean, Benghazi is a huge scandal in my book.
So they're dishonest, hypocritical.
Yeah, I think they're hypocritical. I think that kind of rules the day within that town, and I think we all can be, you know, guilty of being hypocrites here and there, but it's amazing to me the number of people that want to push their agenda on you just because they're so-called superstars.
And in Hollywood, they're always talking about tolerance.
Mm-hmm. But they don't have tolerance for anybody that doesn't agree with them. And it's, as the freedom of speech goes as well, they will push freedom of speech and scream for it until they die. But if you disagree with what they say, they don't want to give you that same freedom of speech. And to me, it's like, be open to this. Look, I'm a true independent. I voted for Reagan. I voted for Clinton. I vote for, I honestly think, who's the best person running, period. But just saying I'm an independent in Hollywood is enough to make me lose work within that city.
Really?
Oh, yeah. There's no question about it. They would never come. Oh, it's come back to me. Trust me, it's come back to me. And I've been on sets where I get tired of people's opinions, and I don't get angry about it. I'll just point out where I think my viewpoint is going to be different than theirs. That's enough to get people to boom, shut off, turn off. They get angry. They get emotional.
There's some
and that's
icky person.
All they deal with is emotion. There's no facts that come along with it. When I came out and said I voted for Reagan, I was up in Canada actually with the other actors. They said, "You're against education." I went, "What? What do you mean I'm against education?" I have an after-school program called A World Fit for Kids. I work with over 12,000 kids. I have the best after-school program in the entire state.
That you and your wife started for inner-city kids.
For inner-city kids. We're at 12,000 kids. And the school district has a 54% dropout rate. We have a 98% graduation rate.
But you're against education because you vote a certain way.
It's the way. There's an indoctrination going on where they think they have to be this way and that way. But I keep asking, you know, socialism, where has it ever worked? In Hollywood, they don't have to worry about Obamacare. They can do all the messaging and promote it, but they don't care. That doesn't affect them.
Probably the biggest cause in Hollywood is saving the earth. You know, climate change and all that. And here's a commercial done by a very fine actor, Harrison Ford.
When rainforests get slashed and burned, it releases tons of carbon into the air we breathe. It changes our climate. It hurts. Every bit of rainforest that gets ripped out over there. Really hurts us over here.
What? Waxing your chest hair in the rainforest? All right, it's a gimmick. Everybody wants to preserve the rainforest. I wouldn't mind so much if these actors weren't such hypocrites. Harrison Ford owns 7 airplanes, not 1, 7. He admits he once flew his jet to get a cheeseburger. It makes me wish someone would confront actors about stuff like that. This spring, someone did.
Mr. Ford, any other plans to get your chest waxed again? To bring awareness to climate change?
Thanks for the question.
You still fly to get a cheeseburger? I guess you're driving a Honda Odyssey.
And Jordan, too.
Absolves you of owning 7 aircraft. Is it still 7, Mr. Ford? How do you recommend that Americans keep up with your carbon footprint?
The man asking those questions was Jason Matera, author of the bestseller Hollywood Hypocrites. Jason, Harrison Ford may be a hypocrite, but you're obnoxious. You're rude.
Oh, John, I learned from the best. I followed your career at 2020, confronting people who were duplicitous
but
and
I was
hypocrites.
confronting crooks and thieves. This is just a poor actor who's expressing his opinion.
Who has a lot of sway, especially with young people. I mean, unfortunately, whether you like it or not, young people take their cues from celebrities, and being hip and cool means being in favor of these conservationist policies that Harrison Ford strangely got his chest waxed over. But I don't, and you know what? I don't care that he owns 7 airplanes. I would love to own 7 airplanes. But please do not lecture me, do not lecture the rest of us that we're on the precipice of global warming Armageddon while you have a Sasquatch-sized carbon footprint. And that's why I confronted him.
And what you do, nobody comes close to doing. The press treats actors differently. I mean, the paparazzi annoy them, but reporters don't question them much.
They want the exclusivity. The interviews are generally patty cake sessions. They won't actually grill them on substantive policy positions that the actors themselves have taken. It's not like out of the blue. I mean, I would like someone to ask Harrison Ford a serious question about his own personal carbon footprint. I mean, you and I and Kevin, we would have to walk around spraying aerosol cans in the air all day long just to keep up with his giant carbon footprint.
Well, with 7 jets, we'd have to do more than that. Kevin, you're an independent, as you said before. You voted for Republicans and Democrats, but that makes him very unusual in Hollywood. Overwhelmingly, they support liberal Democrats. President Obama certainly, and that led to another pledge.
I pledge to be of service to Barack Obama.
I pledge
To be a servant to our president.
and all mankind. Because together we can.
That was part of the Yes We Can campaign, and I obviously have a problem with it since my book's titled, No, They Can't. It points out that, yes, we can, if we means individuals, but to President Obama and Hollywood, we seems to mean government, and that's a dangerous idea. And, Kevin, you're just not allowed to say things like that in Hollywood.
You're not allowed to disagree with Hollywood, is what it really comes down to. It is mind-boggling to me, the things that come out of people's mouths and the way they promote and they push and they push and they push. And everything that they push for really doesn't have effect on them as per se. Because I've golfed with some of the big names, and I've told them, I said, you can afford to be a socialist. You're worth $100 million. And to sit there and push.
You said that to George Clooney.
I said that to a few people out there. So it's
George Clooney says, yeah, raise taxes on the rich people.
It's weird. They'll drive the Prius to the Emmys or something like that, but they've got the private airplane. They've got the, and I don't begrudge people that. You know, I wish I had more. I wish I had a private airplane.
Lots of celebrities advocate raising taxes on the rich to help the poor. Yet over the years, I've noticed that well-connected celebrities are quick to use obscure tax dodges. And here are 2 examples.
Bon Jovi who owns acres of land in New Jersey but pays only $100 in state property tax. Because he raises honeybees, he qualifies for a honeybee subsidy. Bruce Springsteen owns hundreds of acres of land but pays little tax on it because an organic farmer works his land. His poorer neighbors pay more.
I'm not against anyone trying to lower their tax burden, but if you're Bon Jovi and you're Bruce Springsteen and you have not only publicly supported President Obama and campaigned for him and held rallies for him, but have decried tax cuts for the rich and have said, oh, they're robbing these poverty programs and the social contract with America is being destroyed, the middle class is harmed, and then you go and rob these very anti-poverty programs by calling yourself a farmer? I mean, come on. That's the type of hypocrisy that is frustrating to see, and why I wrote the book and are calling out these people on their duplicity.
One final example. Some of the more activist left are so eager to promote anti-capitalist, they even glamorize people like Bill Ayers. His group, the Weather Underground, killed people and bombed buildings. Years later, President Obama held a fundraiser in Ayers' living room. So, sure enough, this year, Robert Redford came out with a movie based on the Weather Underground. In this clip, the terrorists are on the run.
I don't think he's running away. I think he's trying to clear his name.
Our government was murdering millions. We never betrayed each other, any of us, over all these years.
Got him. You have a full green light.
What are you willing to take a risk for?
I saw an interview with him about this movie, Redford, about this movie, and he is behind 100%. He promoted it. He said it was good, it was a good thing, and that's just sad to me. What kind of statement is that saying, to sit there and promote somebody that was blowing up buildings and, you know, potentially hurting millions or hundreds of people? And I don't know, it's screwed up. It's so screwed up. It's sad to see what's going on. It's strange to me.
Though I give him credit, he invited me to Sundance to talk about my books, and he seems to have a somewhat. Well, he didn't talk to me when I was there, but he was there. But he allowed a sliver of the open debate.
A sliver. Sundance. They give you a sliver, but they don't give you the full boat. That's for sure.
It did make me wish that somebody would confront Robert Redford about this.
Mr. Redford, isn't it deplorable that you're glamorizing the Weather Underground, a bunch of domestic terrorists? Are you going to make a movie about the Boston bombers next?
The Boston bombers. So did Redford never responded?
No, his entourage surrounded me and they wouldn't let me get up close. But I think this goes beyond hypocrisy. There's just a human decency factor. It's one thing to make a movie about the Weather Underground terrorists. It's another thing, in the words of Variety, to romanticize it and make it heartfelt. We're talking about a bank robbery that resulted in the murder of 2 police officers and a security guard, and now Robert Redford is going to go make a movie that is essentially one big tribute to this. It's remarkably deplorable, even by Hollywood standards.
Jason, thank you. Kevin, thank you. If you'd like to keep this conversation going, please go on Facebook or Twitter and use that hashtag over here, Hollywood, and to let people know what you think. I'd like to know what you think. Coming up, more celebrity hypocrisy.
Climate change is causing ice to melt and sea levels to rise. And it will happen in our lifetime.
In our lifetime. Unless we demand that our leaders invest in green technologies.
And green jobs now.
Now.
Now, right now, because sea levels will rise in our lifetime, say the actors. But how do they know? Some of these activists are clueless. Leonardo DiCaprio told a reporter he wants to take a long break from acting to fly around the world doing good for the environment. Fly around the world? We just heard about Harrison Ford's 7 airplanes. Don't they get that one plane ride spews more carbon than 1,000 incandescent light bulbs? It's as if they live in a separate, stupid world. You might call it Hollywood Nation. Actually, that's the title of James Herson's book. James, what's going on here?
Look, Hollywood has embraced environmentalism as a sort of a religion. They have their high priest, the Nobel laureate, the Oscar winner Al Gore. You have to accept what he says with faith, without reason, without logic.
It does have the ring of a religion and just some blindness to the facts. You mentioned Al Gore. I was surprised to see him build these monster homes while preaching what he was preaching.
The hypocrisy is monumental. I mean, you have this 19,000 square foot mansion in Tennessee. A group was able to get a hold of his utilities, and they were 20 times that of an average American. He also has a mansion in Montecito. That's near Oprah's house.
Are any of them who call themselves environmental activists not hypocrites? Do some of them live that life?
Ed Begley Jr. is often mentioned, Daryl Hannah. They actually live a lifestyle consistent with what they preach, but boy, is that a rarity, John. I mean, the vast majority of celebrities take opulence to the highest level.
The rapper P. Diddy made a video telling people, turn your lights out, but he owns a bunch of big houses. Recent TV combined his video with his houses.
I pledge to turn the lights off, because I used to leave the lights on, but we want to conserve energy, so I'm going to turn the lights off, you turn the lights off.
So, you think he's unaware of the hypocrisy?
Boy, I just think he lives with it. This guy goes out on tour and has the carbon footprint of a third world nation. So the idea that, he's going to turn his lights out, that's going to make a difference, even if you believe in the theory of man-caused global warming, it seems rather ludicrous.
Let's move on to something else celebrities call evil, the Keystone Pipeline. Some actors made a short film that makes the pipeline seem like the Amityville horror movie. A family buys a new home.
You're going to love this.
It's so beautiful. Such a deal.
What's the catch?
The catch is that the home is near the Keystone Pipeline.
We need to leave.
It's too late.
It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay.
What galls me is that this bad science is pushed in video that a lot of people see by talented people.
When you do something in a narrative form, using somebody like Wendy Malick, a recognizable actress, and you do it with this clever theme, as you said, that looks like a horror movie, it is very, very effective. So the people that are pushing the environmental agenda have a tremendous resource with the celebrities who are willing to do this kind of video and make it viral.
One final example of it. America's biggest recent environmental and economic success, I would say, is fracking for natural gas. Fracking's allowed poor people to heat their homes for less, and it reduced America's carbon output. Yet, many celebrities, like John Lennon's wife and son, trash it.
Don't frack my mother.
Don't frack me!
And when the celebrities speak, the crowds follow.
Oh, they certainly do. They actually powerfully sway not only their followers, but others. When some celebrity like George Clooney, who recently spouted off on global warming, says something, it goes global. Unlike us non-celebrities who can't get the word out quite as effectively. So they are a resource. They are a great power.
Thank you, James Herson. And by the way, Ed Begley Jr. told us he learned about conservation from his conservative father, who taught him it was wrong to waste any resource. And we reached out to every other celebrity that I'll mention on this show, asked them about their hypocrisy. If they had a comment, not one responded to our questions. Coming up, Hollywood makes millions selling stuff to us, but at the same time, many celebrities say they despise profit.
I say profit is a filthy word.
Greed. That's just another word for it. Let's use the C word here. We're talking about capitalism.
Capitalism, it's the C word. Apparently it's a curse. That's the opinion of some vocal celebrities, and Hollywood does vilify capitalism in movies. Capitalists create killer viruses. They sacrifice people to aliens. They spread leukemia. Capitalists chop down the last rainforest. And capitalists poison people. And yet, Hollywood thrives because of capitalism. They may sneer at profit, but they sure do chase it. To try to understand what's in their heads, let's turn to someone who's interviewed and mocked celebrities for years. Kennedy, once a VJ on MTV. What's with this contradiction?
Oh, it's just as old as dirt, and it's so annoying. Movie stars who base their lives on how their movies do at the box office. This cutthroat competition, there is no industry more competitive than the film industry. And your films have to make money. And now movie stars don't even get salaries. They get points in their movies so they can make even more money. But yet somehow that's dirty and filthy. By the way, if you want to call me the C word, if you want to call me a capitalist, that is
You're
perfectly
okay with
acceptable.
that? All right, well, let's play a little more of Michael Moore's appearance on that panel in C-SPAN. Listen to his claim here.
If Wall Street and the rich thought poverty was bad, they get rid of it. They need this large pool, half the country living in anxiety and fear.
4, 3.
And the other half over here are the ones that they'll sell their goods to.
Now, this is truly insane. I mean, not only it makes no sense, but the left also argues we have to have more handouts to the poor so they'll have money to buy stuff and that'll help the whole economy.
As long as the poor is going to see their movies, watching their TV shows, and buying their crap, they're fine.
More examples. Russell Brand's a British actor. He's known in America for flicks like Forgetting Sarah Marshall and Get Him to the Greek. He had his own TV show on the FX channel. It was canceled, but now he's developing a new show for FX, which is owned by Fox. Boss, what are you thinking? Anyway, Brand objects to capitalism, so a BBC interviewer asked him, what would you replace it with?
That's all I'm asking. What's the scheme? You talk vaguely about revolution. What is it?
I think a socialist egalitarian system based on the massive redistribution of wealth, heavy taxation of corporations and massive responsibility for energy companies and any company that's exploiting the environment. I think they should be I think the very concept of profit.
They get a little tiny bit of knowledge and it becomes this watered down socialist drivel, and he is in a sense an attention whore. He's like the Paris Hilton of film.
He wants a socialist egalitarian system.
Egalitarian.
And equal appeals to people.
Well, it appeals to people when they're very young and idealistic and passionate and insane, which is what youth is supposed to be. But then when you grow up and pay taxes, people like Russell Brand no longer make sense. He's not a relevant person in entertainment anymore, so he has to say these things to get some kind of attention.
Russell Brand is just a silly actor, but what about George Lucas? He's a smart businessman who's made billions and helped create Star Wars and Indiana Jones. Charlie Rose asked him this.
You are, among people who know you, a billionaire who's not that crazy about capitalism.
That's true.
Tell me what.
Well, I grew up in the 60s. I'm a very ardent patriot. But I'm also a very ardent believer in democracy, not capitalist democracy. And I do not believe that the rich should be able to buy the government. And that's just the way I feel.
Is that the America you see, where the rich have bought the government?
Well, come on. It's been that way for a long time.
And he's got a point there. Rich people tend to make political campaigns,
That's true.
contributions.
And it's frustrating for a lot of people, a lot of voters. It's also unions. I mean, we live in a system that is paid for by the highest bidder. There's no doubt about that. He's one of the highest bidders, though. I mean, here's someone who's contributed thousands and thousands of dollars to Democratic campaigns.
They never get that the reason that the rich spend all this on government is not because you can somehow, the rich are evil or you could change their behavior. It's when government is that big, if it's got $3 trillion to hand out, people will spend on it to try to influence it.
And he sold his company. He was already worth $3.3 billion, sold his company for over $4 billion. I mean, that's a pretty tiny profit. That's a pretty shrewd capitalist.
He trashes greed, and yet most of his money comes from this stuff, these Star Wars paraphernalia that he sells and has gotten quite rich on.
Yeah, no, Chewbacca is his slave. He was very shrewd when he made that deal for the action figures, because he convinced Fox back in the 70s that, you know, no one's going to buy action figures. Boys don't buy dolls. And of course, that's how he became a multi-billionaire.
One more capitalist who doesn't like capitalism. Thank you, Kennedy. Coming up, more celebrities pushing this time for gun control.
Demand a plan.
right now.
Right now.
You demand it.
So many of them. Which ones are hypocrites? That's next.
If we had just done something yesterday, it's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
After every horrible mass shooting, celebrities push gun control. After the tragedy in Newtown, Connecticut, lots of celebrities taped an anti-gun commercial. They listed past shootings.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek, Newtown,
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more? How many more?
How many more celebrities are going to testify in this commercial? Makes me want to say...
Enough.
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 The actors demand new gun control legislation.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You demand it.
Now, I think they're just foolish to believe that one more plan would make us safer, but it's nice that they have a cause they believe in. Except, many are hypocrites, says radio host and former Hollywood screenwriter Michael Medved. Michael, why?
Well, they're hypocrites because they could do something. I demand a plan, and the plan is reduce the levels of gun violence in movies. In PG movies, the levels of gun violence just in since 2000, the year 2000, have gone up 300%. Now, if you want to do something about that. This is an industry in which so many of these people who are testifying are involved in lavishly violent entertainments like the big new movie, The Hunger Games, right?
The Hunger Games, I thought was bow and arrows. Bows and arrows.
Bows and arrows and everything else. The point is that the general levels of violence and the specific levels of gun violence have never been higher in Hollywood. And yet these self-righteous hypocrites are testifying, demanding a plan from the government. You can do a plan in your own life. If you don't want to have guns, no one's forcing you to have guns. But they are concerned in typical left-wing fashion with what other people do and take no responsibility for what they do themselves.
And for the record, there's no evidence, to my knowledge, that the violence in films leads to violence in real life. There's been more violence in films and video games, and violence in real life, fortunately, has been dropping.
It's very, very true that people contest the idea that there is an actual relationship between violence on screen and violence in real life. But there is more evidence of that association than there is an association with widespread gun ownership and violence in real life.
So after the celebrities' anti-gun PSA aired, someone re-edited the commercial, adding clips of what most of those actors have done in their films.
Newtown. How many more classrooms?
Okay, I can understand why people like that.
How many more movie theaters? Here we go.
Do it, yes.
Here's one more video that seems hypocritical to me. Jim Carrey calls people who make guns the devil's profiteers.
And on the ones who sell the guns, he'd sick the vultures and coyotes. Only the devil's true devotees could profiteer from pain and fear.
On Twitter, he said, "This video is about you heartless motherfuckers unwilling to bend for the safety of our kids."
Which is unbelievable. And you see, this goes to, it seems to me, the biggest difference between the libertarian right and the crazy left is, for those of us on the right, look, I do care about a bunch of issues. I care about the environment. So I plant trees and I pick up litter, right? But they care about what other people do. What is necessary as a message, it seems to me, for Americans regarding gun violence and everything else, is care about yourself. Make the difference that you can make rather than trying to compel other people to do what you want them to do. That desire to control other people is at the very, very heart of the statist and collectivist project, and boy, do I hate it.
Me too. Thank you, Michael Medved. Next.
Thank you, John.
Let's play Real or Fake We'll test your knowledge of celebrity behavior with our game show. For example, this actor promotes a compostable tennis shoe with seeds embedded in its tongue. Real or fake? Now it's time to play Real or Fake. Sometimes celebrities do things that are so bizarre that if you didn't see it or hear it, you wouldn't believe it was real, like Harrison Ford waxing his chest to save the rainforest. So now I want to test you. Can you separate the real celebrity behavior from stuff I made up? Play the Real or Fake game along with tonight's Libertarian panel. Reason Magazine's Matt Welch, Special Correspondent Kennedy, and Camille Foster with Freethink Media. So, first question. Actor Charlie Sheen asked President Obama to investigate whether 9/11 was instigated by George W. Bush. Real or fake? Real? Yes, he did that. He made a 6-minute video about it. He said Osama bin Laden might have been working with the CIA.
Oh, that's it.
Next, Bill Gates offered $100,000 to the person who could invent a more pleasurable condom. 3 fakes. No, he did. It was called it the Next Generation Condom Challenge to improve uptake and regular use.
That's
a great idea.
It's
no
a great
idea that Bill
euphemism.
Gates and sex went in the same sentence.
Yeah, it doesn't. Next one. Actress Evangeline Lilly, to raise money for street kids, auctioned off sexy underwear. Real or
Totally
fake? Real. No doubt about that. And yes, we have a picture of that. This didn't surprise you.
That's too random of a celebrity for that not to be real.
Next.
If you had said Whoopi Goldberg.
Miley Cyrus played strip poker to raise money for a wait for the question. To raise money for a children's music charity. Kennedy got that one right. That's one that we made up here.
Come on now.
It sounded so real, though, didn't it? Since President Obama's limousine only gets 8 miles per gallon, Ed Begley Jr. started a petition campaign to get the president to trade in his limo for an electric-powered version. Real or fake?
Sounds like a great idea.
It's a great idea. All right. Well, you were all wrong. This one I made up, too. I'm so good at fooling you. Okay. Next, Mary Tyler Moore tried to pay a restaurant $1,000 to free one of its lobsters. Okay, yes, this really happened.
Gladstone's. Malibu.
You knew about it was
Yeah,
in your neck of the woods. A lobster named Spike at a Malibu restaurant.
He was delicious, by the way.
Actor Adrian Grenier has a website promoting environmentally friendly compostable tennis shoes. Real or fake? Real? You really think that's real? And you are right. Yeah. The sneakers have seeds embedded in their tongues, so when they wear out, just bury them and watch the flowers bloom. And what's wrong with that?
No, nothing. That's a great private idea.
Everyone involved with the entourage is noted for their intellects.
Actress Alyssa Milano made a fake sex tape to raise awareness of the conflict in Syria. Real or fake?
No.
Camille, you got it. It's absolutely true. I think we can play some of it here.
Bravo!
Nobody cares.
Our nation is on the brink of yet another conflict in the Middle East.
America's the greatest country.
And we're all thinking more about Syria because of that.
That's what it is.
I certainly am.
All right, it's time to name the winner. I'm being told in my ear, we have accountants in a secret room, that there was a tie. Kennedy and Camille, you won. Matt, you lose.
Facial.
And I just wanted to add one last question. Real or fake, the three of you are about to have your own television show. Woo! On Fox Business here.
Still real.
Yes, it's called The Independence, and it is going to be 60 minutes of greatness.
Well, this is great news. I'm so glad you're doing this show. We need more talk shows about liberty. It took me 20 years to understand its importance, but you're younger than I. How did you get it so quickly. Matt, you're the editor of a libertarian magazine.
That helped, certainly. Like you, Reason Magazine helped shape my views quite a bit.
Well, you went there because you were sympathetic.
But it started basically, lived in Central Europe for most of the 1990s and got to see what it's like to exist in the shadow of central planning. And it's uniquely awful. And to see people get liberated from that and create something new is a searing experience.
Kennedy?
Kurt Loder made me read Ayn Rand, and Penn Jillette taught me the importance of talking dirty.
Camille?
Yeah, and I certainly have reason to thank as well, although I also have a really great college professor who handed me a copy of Capitalism and Freedom, and after the introduction alone, I was hooked.
Capitalism and Freedom by Milton Friedman.
Yep.
Thank you, Matt, Kennedy, Camille. Up next, a few celebrities, beside them, who do get it right.
I pledge to be of service to Barack Obama.
I pledge to be a servant to our president.
We are the ones.
Those celebrities sure drank the Kool-Aid. Why do so many of them love politicians who push bigger government? They're not all stupid, are they? Well, some are, but not all. Part of it is just the lazy tendency of people to support what their peers support. And Hollywood supports liberalism. But why did Hollywood become so leftist? Well, I have some theories. It happened because so many actors are good looking. And maybe they became famous through a lucky audition. So good looks, a lucky break. They think most of life is about luck. And so government must intervene to make life more fair. Not buying it? Oh, how about this? Since actors work for others, they rarely have to deal with the big government burdens that some other people who really innovate. People who build a factory or an apartment complex or jump through government's hoops to invent new medicines. Actors collect a paycheck. They don't have to fight bureaucrats. Their agents handle the details. Recently, I read an article about lifelong Democrat Rob Schneider. He plays idiots in movies.
Deuce Bigelow was a professional fish tank cleaner who never got any respect.
Schneider's now become a Republican, he says. The reason is that he tried to run a business, but California's regulation was so bad that he moved out of California and changed political parties. Trying to start a business woke him up. Finally, one more reason why Hollywood is so leftist. Acting is about connecting with people emotionally. And emotion's what liberalism is about. It's not about studying data. To me, America's coming entitlements bankruptcy is a math problem. It's just arithmetic. I add the numbers up, I can see disaster. But the emotional actor says, you want to limit our promised entitlements? You want to kill grandma. And they do a commercial depicting Paul Ryan pushing grandma off a cliff. Often they win through these emotional appeals. Okay, I know saying actors are leftist because they relate through emotions or they're good looking. It's not a scientific explanation of their liberalism, but that's all I got. If you got a better idea, tell us what you think on Facebook or Twitter. But let's end tonight's show with a sliver of good news. A few celebrities have revealed themselves to be libertarians or libertarian/conservatives, like Kevin Sorbo and Clint Eastwood and Tom Selleck. I'm told Kurt Russell's libertarian, but I'm not sure. I met Russell once in Newt Gingrich's office when Newt was Speaker of the House. Newt's no libertarian, but maybe Kurt is? Kurt, are you? And then there's the comedy star, Vince Vaughn.
Everyone has a purpose in life. I guess I just haven't found mine yet.
But now he has, on a radio show recently, he said this.
I'm very supportive of Ron Paul. I think that what you come as you get older is you just get less trust in the government running anything. And you look at the Constitution and the principles of liberty, the real purpose of government is to protect the individual's right.
Yes. And Vaughn went on to say, too many rules lead to government corruption and other unintended consequences. Vaughn gets it.
For the first time in my life, I'm doing the right thing.
Maybe there are more libertarians in Hollywood, but they're in the closet. They keep it secret. In Hollywood, if you don't march in step with the other liberals, you may not get work, as Kevin Sorbo said earlier.
Just saying I'm an independent in Hollywood is enough to make me lose work within that city.
Maybe that's why it's just well-established stars like Vaughn and Clint Eastwood and Sorbo who are willing to speak up. And performers like Drew Carey, who now works for Reason TV.
You don't need a centralized government to tell us what to do all the time and to tell us, you know, what color to paint our house. Adam Smith Invisible Hand is a really good thing.
It really is, but since the hand's invisible, maybe entertainers can't comprehend it. So let's close with one more who does. When statists said government must act to protect our privacy on the web, Penn Jillette did this riff.
It is not the government's business to protect your privacy from Facebook. If Facebook does things that people don't like, everybody will leave Facebook and they'll go out of business. All you need here is free speech and free markets.
Free speech and free markets. That is just about all we need. That's our show. See you next week.